So this is a very typical approach to a GCSE standard or below piece of artwork ready to add paint. Now I've seen so many students approach this by dealing with these intricate shapes and patterns, trying to paint round them, particularly in the exams. It's very time consuming and it's not the easiest and most straightforward way of doing it. So I'm going to demonstrate to you a simple approach that is effective, quick, and will get you what you want. So what we've got is quite a lot of very complicated patterns and shapes, and the normal approach that I would find a student might do would be, if they want this blue, they would very carefully paint around this, not going over this area here, and that takes a long time to do, especially then you've got to go over this bit and so on and so forth with all the other colours. Easiest way to deal with this, paint the whole thing. So just knock that in, straight across these bits, in there, straight across that. Now obviously it's going to be a little bit difficult for me because I need to move the pieces of the paper around, but I can't do that. So normally I would be taking the sketchbook, moving it around in order to get my brush into this angle. Anyway, I paint over that, over the whole area that I want to be that colour. Gone over that, doesn't really matter, can change that. So I'm just going to take that in there like so. Now I can repeat that for all these other shapes with my big blocks of colour if I want to. Okay, what I then need to do is allow that to dry, because if I paint into this area, say I want yellow or whatever, if I paint it while it's wet, it's going to run. That's a technique I might want at some point. In this instance, that's not what I want. So while I'm at it, if I want to speed things up, any other colours that I want blue, if I've mixed up enough of that colour, I will then work into other areas. I'm just going to randomly select things. I'm going to make a connection between this figure and this one, so I'm going to paint that one in there as well, same colour. I'm going to carry on with that, and then once I've finished that I will leave it to dry. Now you can speed up by just simply getting a hairdryer, and if you've got an art department at school that's got one or two, you can quickly dry off your work without too much of a problem. If you haven't got that, then you just go and do something else whilst it's drying. So do a few notes in your book, write up some annotations, whatever it might be, or prepare something else. So I'm going to finish that off and then come back to the next stage once it's dried. So now you can see that because this is dried, I can now paint over with my yellow. That's what I've chosen to do, quite easily adding my details in. It will take on a slightly greenish tint because watercolour is translucent, but not that much. And in any case, good practice is that you should be mixing your colours. They shouldn't normally be by default just straight from the palette with no mixing whatsoever. That's very easy to spot, and all it does at GCSE level particularly is just demonstrate you're not really probably thinking about the colours. You're just grabbing things and plonking them down. So this is a really effective, very quick way of working. Done that in twice the time. Remember we were talking about going round it and then so on and so forth. This way, I've just done it in a few minutes. If I'm working on a larger scale, I would be using a bigger brush, and it wouldn't take all that much longer to do at all. Rules are, cover the area first with mostly your lightest colour. I've gone opposite that one. And then work over the top. Just to show you, last little bit here, I want to change that to red, so it's perfectly doable. I can just put that in there. I've added a little bit of the yellow into it anyway. Got to be a bit careful of those areas because that will tend to run if I'm a little bit clumsy, but I can fairly effectively change that colour to what I want just by working over those lighter colours, and then cover your big areas first and then over the top. About 3 or 4 times faster than doing it individually. Okay, so that's a little tip for you guys to use. Hopefully that helps.